Welcome to part 3 of our teaching series on innovation and change leadership in ministry. As Chad's AI avatar, I'm truly glad you're here to keep learning. Thanks for digging deeper into this complex topic. In this section, we're going to explore what's known as the dual transformation strategy. It's a powerful framework that shows how ministries can remain deeply rooted in their core mission, while at the same time launching new, innovative expressions of church. We'll look at real-world examples from ministry contexts, explore practical tools to balance tradition and innovation, and reflect on how both approaches, old and new, can work together under a shared mission. So if you've ever wondered how to honor the past while faithfully preparing for the future, this model offers a meaningful path forward. Let's dive in. Let's begin by taking a closer look at the dual transformation strategy for ministries. In their book, Dual Transformation from 2017, Scott Anthony, Mark Johnson, and Clark Gilbert outline a strategy designed to help organizations not only survive, but thrive during disruptive change. They describe two simultaneous transformations. First, Transformation A, which involves repositioning your current core ministry so it becomes more resilient. And second, Transformation B, which focuses on building a new, innovative engine of growth for the future. There's also a vital linking element, sometimes called Transformation C, which ensures that both parts work together, drawing on shared values, mission, or assets. This strategy aligns well with what Christian thinkers like Clayton Christensen and John Cotter have advised. Continue doing what you do well, but adapt it, while at the same time innovating in a separate space. For ministries, this is especially meaningful. Dual transformation offers a way to remain rooted in tradition and continuity, which is so important in faith communities, while also launching bold new ministries that meet emerging needs in a changing world. Let's now talk about Transformation A, adapting and preserving the core mission. Transformation A asks us to take our primary ministry, what people already know us for, and reshape it for today's reality. This isn't about discarding our mission. It's about refocusing it. In a church context, Transformation A could involve updating the style of your service, modernizing your communication methods, or reshaping your focus to better connect with today's culture. For example, a denominational church might simplify its worship format, introduce contemporary elements to engage younger generations, or even restructure leadership to empower lay leaders. Sometimes it also means trimming legacy programs that are no longer fruitful, so that time, energy, and resources can be directed toward areas with more potential for impact. The guiding question here is, how can our core ministry continue to fulfill its mission in a way that is viable right now and into the near future? To bring this to life, let's consider a real-world scenario. A historic inner-city church had a shrinking congregation. Their Sunday service, held at 11 a.m. with a traditional pipe organ, was no longer connecting with the surrounding community. Instead of canceling the service, they repositioned it. They moved it to a later time, added gospel music alongside the organ to better reflect the neighborhood's culture, and started a coffee fellowship afterward to encourage community. They trained ushers in hospitality and invested in a children's ministry to make the environment more family-friendly. The core church became more vibrant. It didn't decline, it grew. This is what Transformation A is all about, leveraging the strengths of your core in ways that bring new life. Another example, a church with a strong heritage of Bible teaching might keep its deep theological content, but shift from formal sermons to an interactive Bible study format. The doctrine stays, but the delivery evolves. In Pentecostal or charismatic churches, Transformation A might involve renewing core practices in a culturally relevant way. Let's say your church has a deep tradition of spirit-filled worship and altar ministry. Could you offer a Friday night worship experience in a coffee house setting? Still spirit-filled, but a different expression. Or maybe your church is known for healing prayer. Could you train members to offer prayer not only in revival meetings, but in hospitals or on the streets? The goal isn't to abandon the core, it's to make sure it continues bearing fruit in today's context. Importantly, Transformation A is not about compromising doctrine. It's more like what we see in Acts chapter 15, when the early church decided not to require Gentile converts to follow every Jewish custom. The core gospel of salvation through Christ remained unchanged, but the method of delivery was adapted for a new audience. In the same way, a spirit-empowered church might say, "We still believe in spirit baptism, but we may teach it differently." or help people experience it in new settings, like small house prayer groups, rather than traditional tarrying services. Now, let's turn to Transformation B, creating new ministry models for the future. Transformation B is about launching something truly new, something that may look quite different from your existing ministry and is often aimed at people you're not currently reaching. This isn't just a tweak or a style update, it's a separate venture, started from scratch, but still aligned with your mission. For example, this might be launching a digital campus, starting a community nonprofit, planting a new church, or creating a business as mission initiative. A well-known example of this approach comes from the UK. The Church of England and the Methodist Church adopted what they call a blended ecology of church. They encourage parishes to continue traditional worship, that's Transformation A, while also launching fresh expressions of church, that's Transformation B. These new expressions include things like messy church for families, cafe-style gatherings for seekers, youth-focused events, or digital communities. And the results have been very encouraging. Roughly 10% of Anglican churchgoers now attend these new gatherings, and many had never been involved in church before. In places where both approaches are supported, both the old and the new, they tend to flourish together. Transformation B might look like this at the local level. A traditional church launches a new evening service in a rented cafe with acoustic worship and open discussion, targeted at artists or college students. Or maybe a church with a strong passion for justice creates a nonprofit focused on fighting human trafficking. That nonprofit may reach people outside the church, but it still reflects the church's kingdom mission. Or think about a mission organization. Traditionally, they've sent Western missionaries abroad, Transformation A, but now they also start a business as mission incubator to equip local Christian entrepreneurs, Transformation B. This kind of innovation is crucial as visa restrictions and funding challenges increase for traditional missionary models. Another real example comes from Clark Gilbert, one of the authors of Dual Transformation. As CEO of Deseret News, a media organization owned by the LDS Church, he led a dual transformation. The print edition was refocused on unique faith content for older readers, Transformation A. At the same time, they launched a new digital media company aimed at younger audiences, Transformation B. Both succeeded. And the same can be true in ministry. Your church might refocus its core on deep discipleship while launching a digital outreach to seekers. These efforts don't compete. They serve different groups and often strengthen each other. Let's now consider the importance of linking Transformation A and B through shared mission and knowledge. Dual transformation is not about running two disconnected ministries. There needs to be a linking thread, a common mission, shared values, and often shared resources. For example, your core church services and a new community center for refugees might seem different on the surface, but both are rooted in your mission to share Christ's love with all people. They might even share space, volunteers, or staff. Transformation A brings stability, maturity, and resourcing. Transformation B brings relevance, experimentation, and often outreach to new groups. Together, they support and strengthen one another. Still, tensions can arise. Sometimes a new initiative might raise concerns. Maybe it uses informal language or tackles difficult questions that make longtime members uncomfortable. That's why communication is so important. Let Transformation A mentor Transformation B in theology, while letting Transformation B mentor Transformation A in innovation. Each can learn from the other. Some churches find it helpful to appoint someone who bridges both spaces, like an associate pastor who leads the new initiative while also serving on the core leadership team. Let me share a few case studies of this in action. The Methodist Church in Britain has intentionally pursued this approach. They launched New Places for New People, offering innovative gatherings like Bite-Sized Church, which includes brunch and faith discussion, and Your Space, a digital community. These ran in parallel with traditional chapels. Resources were allocated to both. Volunteers moved between them. And the result? Growth and renewal in both settings. Now imagine a large Pentecostal church in Africa. Their city megachurch is thriving, but rural communities and young professionals are not being reached. So they adapt their city church, offering local language translations and contemporary gospel music for youth. That's Transformation A. At the same time, they launch rural house churches and a tech-based devotional ministry using WhatsApp and Telegram. That's Transformation B. Each setting is distinct, but linked through leadership, theology, and shared testimony. This dual approach allows the church to expand broadly without forcing one model to fit every context. Let's now look at how you can begin implementing dual transformation in your ministry. It all begins with intentional leadership and balance. You'll need to invest in both the core and the new. Neglecting either one is a risk. A wise approach is to assign leadership roles to each. Perhaps a senior pastor continues focusing on the core, while a younger associate helps pioneer the new initiative. And communication is key. Help your congregation understand that the new work doesn't replace the old. It complements it. You might say something like, "We will continue our cherished 9 a.m. traditional service, and we're also starting an 11 a.m. contemporary gathering to reach others. Both are part of our heart for God and people." Next, let's talk about how to evaluate success. For the core ministry, Transformation A, look for depth. Are you discipling people? Are you growing steadily? For the new initiative, Transformation B, measure reach and learning. Who are you connecting with? What are you discovering about their needs? Also consider sustainability. New efforts may need funding and support at first, but over time, they might grow to generate resources or become self-sustaining. One church we know sets aside 10% of its budget for innovation ministries, essentially tithing to the future. And don't overlook the importance of unity in prayer. When both the traditional service and the new ministry pray for each other, it strengthens the whole body. Let's finish with a reflection for ministry leaders, considering dual transformation. First, evaluate your core ministry. What's working well? What needs renewal? Then, identify a new population or unmet need and prayerfully brainstorm what kind of new ministry might reach them. Appoint the right leaders for each stream and empower them with voice and vision. Allocate resources to both, trimming where needed and investing where there's growth potential. Set clear, realistic goals for both A and B. Explain the why to your people. Use scripture, like Jesus' parable of the wineskins, to illustrate how both old and new can coexist. Keep learning. Let your new initiative be a learning lab, and be ready to adjust. Finally, be open to what God may do in the long term. Maybe one model becomes your future, or maybe you maintain both. The goal is not that A or B wins, but that the kingdom flourishes. Dual transformation gives us a hopeful reminder. We don't have to choose between tradition and innovation. We can and should pursue both. This is especially encouraging for evangelical and Pentecostal ministries that treasure their heritage, yet sense that God is doing a new thing, just as Isaiah 43:19 reminds us. By holding on to the rich wine of past revivals in one hand and fermenting new wine in the other, we can move forward with courage, faithfully grounded, and joyfully adaptive. That wraps up part 3. This model reminds us that we can honor our ministry's past while building for its future. We don't need to choose between tradition and innovation. God can use both when we lead with wisdom and courage. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in part 4.